Babysitter texts mom, "I'm baby." Mom realizes she's not alone. With her eyes wide and staring at the door, she tried to make herself as small as possible and prayed that he wouldn't try to open it. She moved in front of her niece, who was crouched behind the toilet, and tried to prepare herself for the inevitable. She knew it was only a matter of time before he found them. Then she felt a reassuring shape pressing into her leg. She'd totally forgotten about what she'd stowed in her pocket. Yesenia Barragan and her daughter Zoe lived in California. Yesenia is as productive as any mother and seldom left 4-year-old Zoe alone. However, as for any other working mom, this wasn't always possible. When Yesenia was told that there was going to be a business meeting out of town and that she was expected to be there, her heart sank. Even worse, she couldn't take Zoe with. She needed a solution, and fast. Yesenia weighed her options carefully. Juggling motherhood and a full-time job wasn't easy at the best of times, but she had no choice. On top of all the leave she'd already taken when Zoe had been sick, she knew that if she didn't go to this business meeting, it wouldn't look good for her. Her job could be on the line. She was faced with a tough decision. Yesenia's mom tried to calm her fears by assuring her that Savannah had looked after children before, but she just couldn't shake the sinking feeling in her stomach. Indeed, Yesenia knew Savannah well, after all, and she was her sister, but that did nothing to soothe her worries. What she didn't know was that this simple decision would end up changing the lives of everyone involved. Savannah Jones had been a big responsibility, but she'd never expected the unthinkable to happen. In her eyes, her older sister had given her a chance to prove that she was grown up enough to babysit her 4-year-old niece Zoe. But while they were in the family home, she found herself in a situation that few would be able to handle. Soon, she would be living a nightmare. Marie pulled up to Yesenia's home and dropped Savannah off, but as she pulled out of the drive, she had an uneasy feeling she couldn't shake. There was a car with tinted windows parked on the opposite side of the road. She knew the neighborhood well, but suddenly she couldn't help but worry. Nevertheless, she ignored the little voice inside her head and tried to focus. It was probably just one of the neighbors, she thought to herself, but her mother's instincts are rarely wrong. Meanwhile, Yesenia busied herself by showing her little sister where everything was. She gave her a list of emergency numbers and then she kissed Zoe goodbye. But by the time her mom got that terrifying text message, everyone was already too far away to help. But it was too late to turn back now. What was done was done. Yesenia left, but she was too distracted to notice the suspicious car. What was done, and safely inside, Savannah asked Zoe to show her her toys, which she happily pulled out of the toy box in the lounge. Then the pair cuddled up on the sofa to watch a Disney movie. Surely nothing would happen in this quiet neighborhood located in Montclair, California. It was around 3:30 p.m. Savannah and Zoe were singing along to Frozen when they heard a knock on the door. She turned the TV off and walked into the hallway to see who it was. She didn't expect Yesenia to come back for days, so who could be at the door? Was her sister expecting a delivery? But when she looked through the peephole, she knew something was very wrong. There was a man at the door and he was wearing a hat, and Savannah couldn't make out his features clearly, but she instinctively knew that something just wasn't right about him. Although she didn't recognize him, he didn't look like a salesman. And he definitely wasn't an official. So what did he want? Savannah quietly crept away from the door, hoping that if she ignored him, he'd go away, but she was so wrong. The man continued to knock on the door for a few minutes, but then the knock stopped. Savannah let out a sigh of relief, but it was short-lived. To her horror, the doorknob began to rattle. Whoever the man was, he wanted to get in. Thankfully, the door was locked. Then the knocking began again. This time, the knocks were louder. Savannah's heart leapt into her throat. If the man wanted to get in, she knew he would. What could she do? They were trapped. Any minute now, the man was going to burst through the door. She had to think fast. She grabbed Zoe and sprinted down the hall to the master bedroom, but would the girls be safe there? Savannah looked around, calculating. The bedroom had a door, but where is the key? She didn't have time to find it. Panicked and terrified, she looked for a place to hide, then she saw the master bedroom. Without another thought, she scooped up her niece and ran inside, slamming and locking the door behind her. Then she heard a sound that made her blood run cold. The man, emboldened, wasn't going to wait to be let in. Savannah heard the sickening sound of wood splintering as he broke down the front door. She gathered her wits and told Zoe that they were playing a game, but she couldn't keep her voice from trembling. She whispered that Zoe must be as quiet as she can. She couldn't make a sound. Savannah could hear the man inside the house now stomping around. Then she heard his heavy footsteps walking through the hallway and enter the master bedroom. She told Zoe to hide behind the toilet, and she crouched in front of her, readying herself. She was going to make sure that nothing happened to her niece. As they crouched in silence, Savannah knew that it was only a matter of time before the man found him. What could she do? Her eyes stared at the bathroom door like a frightened animal as she braced herself for the worst. But what was this? Just then, she became aware of something in her pocket pressing into her thigh. Savannah slid her phone out of her pocket. How could she have forgotten that she'd had it? Now she could get help. But would help come in time? She frantically texted her mother with shaking fingers, but autocorrect made the first message unintelligible. After sending "I'm baby," she tried again. "He is inside, Mom. He's gonna hear me," she wrote. While she was waiting for her mom's reply, she could hear the man walking around the house, opening doors and rifling through cupboards. When Maria finally read her daughter's message, a chill ran down her spine. But she was too far away to do anything, and emergency services would take too long, but she knew she had to do something. Meanwhile, the girls waited in silence. They could hear the man ransacking the house, but Savannah prayed that he wouldn't try to get into the bathroom. "I kept staring at the door and hoping he wouldn't try to open it," she said. Then, after what felt like hours, she got a text back from her mom. Maria had called a neighbor, and it wasn't long after that Savannah heard another man's voice echoing through her house. Relief washed over her in waves as she heard the intruder, spooked, begin to scramble. He sprinted down the hall and pushed past the neighbor before disappearing out of sight. Soon after, the police arrived on the scene. Thankfully, the man had only ransacked 2 rooms in the house, and everyone was grateful that he hadn't found the girls hiding in the bathroom. Montclair police officers, including a K-9 officer, conducted an extensive search for the home invader. But despite his scent being on just about everything, the man had escaped. Then Maria and Savannah's sister arrived on the scene. Obviously, Savannah's mom and sister were extremely proud of how she'd taken control of the situation. "She was very smart and brave," said her sister Yesenia. "She did everything right." But Savannah understandably has mixed feelings about the situation. Her main concern is that the man was never caught and is still out there. Today, Savannah Jones is working with her family to process what had happened that fateful day. She says that she's still experiencing a range of emotions. Relief, and then knowing that he's still out there is, scary, she told a local news station. She described the intruder to the police, and the investigation is still ongoing. The police in the Montclair area are still looking for him, though, and are confident he won't go back to the Jones house anytime soon. Savannah's story is a valuable lesson for any young babysitter who's left alone in a house. Always keep your phone with you, never engage a home invader, and remain calm so that you can come up with the best way to keep you and your charges safe. Marie and Savannah's quick thinking saved the day. A protective mom is a formidable figure to cross, but what one mom did made headlines. A seemingly insignificant incident at a Colorado school has ignited a powder keg of controversy and sparked a much-heated debate between teachers and parents. When a young student came home complaining about being hungry, her mother questioned her. Was she still hungry after eating the lunch she'd packed her? But this mom wasn't prepared for the answers she got. Lisa Pearson was going about her day as usual, but when her young daughter arrived home from school hungry, she knew there was something up. Lisa had sent little Natalie to school with her usual packed lunch, which had come back with her untouched. But when she looked inside Natalie's lunchbox, she was taken aback to find an audacious note inside. Lisa and her daughter live in Aurora, Colorado. The town is well known for its residents who display respect, acceptance, and generally treat each other well. Naturally, Lisa was rather surprised that the staff at Aurora Children's Academy would treat her and her daughter like this. No child or parent should have to endure this. They'd gone too far. Of course, Lisa only wanted the best for little Natalie. She herself had grown up in a rather competitive society, so when she enrolled Natalie in Aurora's Children's Academy, she thought she would be giving her daughter the best start in life. But the dream school was quickly becoming a nightmare. On the stressful morning in question, Lisa had taken Natalie's lunchbox and had done something that the school would see as unforgivable. The Aurora Children's Academy and Childcare Center preschool can accommodate up to 150 students at any given time, and is a very popular choice with the mothers in Aurora. Community members held the school in high regard and trusted the staff there to help young learners prepare for elementary school, which is exactly what Lisa wanted for Natalie. Everything was coming together for Lisa. She was close to completing her degree, and Natalie was adjusting well, making friends and excelling at preschool. It seemed as though things were finally looking up for the family. But little did Lisa know she was about to be jolted out of her dream by a shameful and rude awakening. Natalie had been attending the preschool for almost the entire school year, and Lisa was very happy with her daughter's tuition thus far. She had no grievances and was confident that she and her husband Nate had made the right choice by choosing Aurora Children's Academy. But one fateful Friday, all hell broke loose. Natalie said that she was always busy, as most mothers of young children are, and completing her degree, working in law enforcement, and taking care of Natalie was no easy feat. She said that she was too busy on one particular day to realize she'd run out of fresh fruit and vegetables for her daughter's packed lunch. But it was this small oversight that would ultimately become a much bigger issue. It was on that fateful morning that Lisa had decided to include a little treat for her daughter, so she threw in a few Oreo cookies as a sweet surprise for Natalie. She also packed a ham and cheese sandwich, as well as string cheese to balance her daughter's meal. Normally she'd include a piece of fresh fruit, but she hadn't had any in the fridge on that particular day. If you consider how sugar-filled Oreo cookies are, it's no surprise that they're one of the unhealthiest cookies on the market today. Sweets such as these are notorious for causing diseases such as diabetes, which can also lead to heart disease. The school officials call lunches that include sugary treats poor. Should a little girl be eating them, and was the school's concern warranted? That Friday, Natalie arrived home from her preschool with a sad expression on her face. Lisa asked what the matter was, and Natalie said she was hungry. That's when Lisa looked in her daughter's full lunchbox and saw the note on top of the offending cookies, which were uneaten. But when Lisa read the note, she became furious. Lisa knew she needed to share the note with everybody and shame the school for their behavior. The note read, "Dear parents, it is very important that all students have a nutritious lunch. This is a public school setting and all children are required to have a fruit, a vegetable, and a healthy snack from home along with the milk. If they have potatoes, the child will also need bread to go along with it." Lisa was absolutely furious. How dare the school dictate what her daughter could eat and what she couldn't? The note also stated that Lunchables, chips, fruit snacks, and peanut butter are not considered to be a healthy snack. She was so incensed that she decided to share her outrage online. When she posted the note and her summary of the day on social media, Lisa was quickly met with support from other parents and general outrage about the situation. "I just got a bunch of outrage from friends I hadn't heard from in years," Lisa said later, noting that one of the friends summed up the incident as ridiculous. From the school's point of view, they were saving Natalie. "We need to consider that the past 20 years has seen a huge rise in obese children. Whereas 30 and 40 years ago, a larger person would have stood out and would have been acknowledged, today obesity is the norm and is being treated as such." The folks at Aurora Children's Academy probably just wanted to set Natalie on the right track. The Children's Academy was just keeping a watchful eye out. It's no secret that there is an obesity and health problem in America, and the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act came about to encourage healthier lunches for kids in schools. They're not going to allow their students to eat a poor lunch. Seeing Natalie open a pail full of carbs and sweets and zero veggies must have set off a lot of alarms among the staff. We must keep in mind that the Children's Academy is a place where toddlers aim to higher their education. They can't do that with a pail full of Oreos. Studies have shown that healthy food does help children learn more efficiently. Students who eat regular healthy meals are less likely to be tired, are more attentive in class, and retain more information, said NYU Associate Professor of Economics and Education Policy Sean Patrick Corcoran. Natalie definitely wasn't eating healthy. No parent wants to be made an example of, and no one wants to be accused of poisoning their child with bad food. The school basically went out of their way to make Lisa feel like a bad mother. One can't deny that she'd probably spend nights tossing and turning in bed while questioning her own parenting methods. Lisa would later tell the media that her biggest problem with the issue wasn't that the school wanted students to eat healthy, but that the school took it over the top. She said that she felt shamed and that it was wrong for the school to say what her daughter could or couldn't eat. Lisa believed that by telling Natalie what she couldn't eat out of her lunch, the school had overstepped its boundaries. "What the school thinks is healthy for her is not what I think is healthy for her," she said. "She needs to eat what she's gonna eat, and that's between me and her and our doctor, not the school." It would be one thing if Lisa's daughter was 100 pounds and waddling through the class hallways. By all means at that point show some concern, but she was otherwise a thin and active little girl. This made the accusations all the worse. Lisa said she was particularly unable to understand the school's response considering that her daughter is healthy and not overweight. "It's not like I was offering cookies to the entire class, and it's not like that was the only thing in her lunch," Lisa said. To add fuel to the fire, Lisa alleges that the school once offered her daughter treats, making their actions hypocritical. "They say I can't decide what to feed her, but then they sometimes feed her junk food," Lisa said during an interview with ABC News. After the controversy that ensued, Lisa defended her decision to include Oreo cookies in her daughter's lunch. "We're not the parents that send junk food every day," she said later in an interview. "She has a full healthy lunch, and this was Friday. Why not give her a special treat?" The accusation is a bit strange, especially seeing as schools aren't exactly sporting reputations that associate them with healthy food. The meals that kids usually get in school cafeterias are usually full of mystery. The meats will taste rubbery and everything else will commonly share a disgusting texture. Also, candy is too commonly handed out in class. At the time, Brenda Dean worked as the Children's Academy's director. She said to the media that she was looking into the note, but that the note wasn't in accordance with school policy and shouldn't have been sent home to a parent in such a manner. If you're picturing this little girl getting her lunch ripped from her grasp and tossed in the trash, you might be getting this story all wrong. Nobody exactly took the girl's lunch and left her to starve for the rest of the school. As the plot thickened, the whole truth came out. Aurora Public Schools Chief Communications Officer Patty Moon said that although the school did prefer to keep parents informed about healthy choices, such actions shouldn't be punitive. She did, however, say that Natalie had been given the choice to have another snack and therefore didn't have to go home hungry. That means that Natalie took a stubborn stance and refused to eat the meal that was further provided for her. That said, amid over 100 children eating, she sat there and wouldn't eat anything. She decided that going through the day hungry was better than giving them the satisfaction. When it comes to the feud between Lisa and the preschool that her daughter attended, it seemed the drama was stopped when Natalie started elementary school. One has to wonder what schools and parents learned from the situation. In the end, the public school system certainly reevaluated its stance and definitely won't be sending any more notes home to parents. Meanwhile, Natalie moved on to elementary school and hasn't had any other issues. However, the situation definitely shone a light on what role, if any, public schools should have in what kids can and can't eat for lunch.